Welcome! Today I'll guide you through the process of using Stable Diffusion to spark creative ideas for your work. Faced with the common dilemma of determining the visual direction of my completed 3D model, I opted to leverage the power of AI to streamline the creative process. In this tutorial, I'll show you how to use ComfyUI to generate hundreds of unique look development ideas for your 3D renderings in just minutes. ComfyUI is a node-based graphical user interface for Stable Diffusion. You can construct an image generation workflow by chaining different nodes. This approach isn't limited to 3D. It can be applied to other creative domains, such as drawing, photography, or VFX compositing. Let's begin. To follow this tutorial, you will need to install some stuff. You will need Python, Git, ComfyUI, one checkpoint model, ComfyUI Manager, and since this is not a beginner tutorial, it will be good if you had already some basic knowledge on ComfyUI. I will not be covering the installation of these elements, but I will leave links on the description for everything you need to install. Okay, so this is my finished workflow. When you load the JSON file, probably you'll see some nodes marked as red. That's because you need to install the missing nodes. To do that, just go to the manager right here and then click on this button to install the missing custom nodes. Done that, we are ready to start analyzing briefly this workflow. So up here I have my base image that I rendered in Cinema 4D and I'm feeding it to the Controlnet preprocessors, which are these two groups here. The Canny preprocessor is an edge detector. It extracts the outlines of an image, which is useful for retaining the composition of the original image. So the generated image will follow these outlines right here, okay? Here I have the depth preprocessor that guesses the depth information of the reference image. And these two are our Controlnet. So they are connected to the basic nodes that are needed to generate an image in ComfyUI. Right here we have the checkpoint loader, and these two marked as green are our positive prompt, and the red ones are our negative prompt. Here we have the node that determines the resolution of our image, and here we have the first generation that was made using the outlines established with Canny. Okay, since I liked this image, I decided that I wanted to see some control panels in these areas right here. And to do that, I loaded my first matte pass, which has some areas with colors, and the blue ones are exactly the areas that I want to see some control panels. And since they are blue, I had to choose the blue channel of this image. If I wanted to change the ceiling of the spaceship, I will choose red, for example. And the result, it's this. He added some control panels to those areas. And then I decided that I wanted to change the spaceship floor. So I loaded another matte image. This area right here marked as blue. Again, I chose the blue channel. I made a new prompt. And the result was this. But this image has a lot of weird edges and some errors. And to soften those errors and improve the image quality overall, I made an image-to-image pass. That basically it takes the original image and adds a little more information just to improve the overall quality. and this is my final result. After that, I did an upscale to 4 times. This is now a 4K image of our final result. I will not be covering the upscale part in this tutorial because I think that's a subject for another time. So let's begin. So this is ComfyUI. This is the basic workflow, but we are going to do one from scratch. So let's clear this up and start with another one. If you double click on the UI, a search bar appears and you can search for the node you want. So let's start with the checkpoint loader. A checkpoint is a model pre-trained in a particular set of images. SDXL Base 1.0 is a model released by Stability AI for XDXL, but there are other ones like this one on Civit AI. You can download it, the model safe tensor, and put it in your checkpoint folder inside ComfyUI. Then, if you refresh the UI, it will appear on the drop-down list. Next, we need a place to write our prompt. So let's search for clip text encode XDXL. And as you can see, there are two fields here where you can write some text, clip G and clip L. But in reality, we need just one field. So let's convert these two to inputs. Convert clip G to input and then convert clip L to input. If you click on the tiny circle on the side of text G, drag outside the box and release the mouse, a menu will appear. Let's choose Head Node, Utils, Primitive. Now the primitive is connected to clip G, but we also need to connect it to clip L. This is going to be our positive prompt, so if we give it a color like green, it's easier to identify. Likewise, we need a negative prompt, so let's copy and paste these two nodes and give them the red color. Now it's time to start connecting our nodes. Let's start by connecting the clip from the load checkpoint to the clip text encode. Now we need a case sampler. Let's start by connecting the model from load checkpoint to the input on the case sampler, and likewise our positive and negative prompts. Next, we need a new node called empty latent image. This will determine the resolution of our images. In fact, I think I'm gonna use the XDXL empty latent image just because it has a list of the resolutions that work best with XDXL. Now we need a VAE decode. VAE means variational autoencoder, and it encodes the image into latent space. And then that same latent space is decoded in the new higher quality image. Finally, we need a way to save our images. Let's search for Save Image and connect these two. Perfect. So now we are ready to write our first prompt. Let's see. House by the lake, trees in the background, daylight, a beautiful sky with clouds, dramatic lighting, professional landscape photography. And since we want a realistic image, in the negative prompt, let's say we don't want something like drawing or painting or anime or cartoon, and we want a sharp image, so let's avoid blurriness. Alright, so let's queue prompt. The green box around the node means that that node is being processed. The first time you load the checkpoint, it will take a while to load, but the next time will be quite faster. So processing the image, yes, and here it is. We can play around with the settings to improve the image quality. The settings I like to use for SDXL are, for example, here on clip text and code, I like to use 4096 instead of 1024. Here too. Same for the negative prompt. In the case sampler, I like to increase the number of steps to 30. For the sampler name, I like to use this one and Carras. So let's make a new image. This is going to be quite different, of course, because the seed has changed. And there you go. Okay, fantastic. Now, the fun part. Let's start adding our control nets. If you are planning to use more than one control net, I suggest that you search for the stack node for Controlnet, this one right here. So if you push the tiny circle, the drop-down menu appears, and let's use Control Stacker. Okay, for the Controlnet, we need to choose our model. Controlnet loader, yeah, and here is the list of Controlnet models that I have. I like to use this one. And if you don't have this one, you can go to the manager, install models, and you can search for it here, Canny. And make sure you choose the one for SDXL, and it's this one right here. Cool. After you install, again, refresh your ComfyUI and it will appear right here. So we need to load our source image. So load image, this one, cool. Okay. Now we need a preprocessor for this image. So let's search for Canny Edge preprocessor. Okay. We connect the image to the preprocessor and the preprocessor will connect to the Controlnet stacker. Cool. Let's add one more node here called preview image. We connect the Canny to the preview image so we can see what will be the interpretation of Stable Diffusion of our source image. So if we qprompt right now, okay, so here it is. Keep in mind that this is only an approximation. This is what Stable Diffusion thinks our image lines are, and it will not be perfect. If you want a more approximate result, I suggest that you make a render on your 3D software, like a toon shader or something, so that you have a more accurate version of the lines, uh, like this one, for example. And we are ready to connect our Controlnet to the rest of the workflow. So what do we need here? We need to connect our prompt to the Controlnet stack. So the negative prompt goes here and the positive goes right here. Next, we need to connect the conditioning plus to the positive and the other one to the negative. See? Okay. And now we need to adjust our prompt. So this is a spaceship room, glass windows, interior lighting, cinematic shot. You can be as descriptive as you want to, but for the sake of simplicity, I will keep my prompt short. So let's see what it gives us. the use of Controlnet will make the generation process a little bit longer. So from now on, I will fast forward the generation process so we have a shorter video, okay? So this is our first result. Let's do another one. All right, really cool. Oh, so as you see, we don't have any windows here. So Stable Diffusion thinks these are windows, apparently, and it's quite okay because we are just getting some ideas for our texturing and lighting for our 3D scene. But if you want to really have an accurate version, like I said before, I suggest that you make your own Canny rendering in your 3D software and feed that image to Controlnet. One thing that is important about this process is that you can play around with Controlnet settings. Right now, the strength and the %, are at value 1, but you can reduce this value and give more freedom to Stable Diffusion to imagine what the Canny lines would be. So let's say that we reduce this to 0.5 and same here, and as you will see, the result will be quite different. Okay, he had a lot of new information here. Before this was a rectangular window and now has a completely different shape. Let's see another one. Okay, as you can see, these are very different results, but the base, the draft lines are still here, but for concept purposes, it's quite cool. So we can get a lot of different ideas, things that we didn't think before for our 3D scene. But for me, I like to give just a little bit of freedom. Let's say these values, and the image will be a little bit different, but we'll still maintain our baselines. One thing that's not going so well are these edges right here. They are a little bit jaggy, and in our base render they are straight and well defined, but as I said, just need to play around with these settings until you get something that you like. You can also feed a depth map to the Controlnet, and I'm gonna show you how. So first, let's clean this up a little bit. Let's select these nodes, right click, and add a group to them. Let's rename the group. This is going to be our Canny, and copy this, paste them, add another group, and this is going to be our depth. Okay, so what we need here, we need to change our model because this one is to Canny, and I'm going to choose the depth right here. If you don't have it, you can go to the install models, search for it, and make sure you choose the one for SDXL. Install it, refresh, and there you go. So what we need here now, we need to change the preprocessor. Let's search for this one right here. It's cool. I like it. So we need to connect the image to the preprocessor. This goes to preview image, and this one goes to the Controlnet. And let's see what is the result for the map. Okay, so I don't think it did a really good job. I can play around with the settings to get a better version, but I think the best really is to render this path on your 3D software and then feed it to the Controlnet. But let's see how it goes with this one. We just need to connect the Controlnet stack to the other one. It doesn't really matter the order you connect them, they just need to be connected. And let's see how it goes. Okay. Um, since this depth map is not really good, I'm gonna bypass the group because I don't want it to affect our rendering. And let's change the prompt a little bit. Let's go for, let's see, an abandoned spaceship uh, with broken glass windows. And let's add some daylight, sun rays coming in. All right, this is really cool, but I don't see any sunlight or sun rays coming in. Let's try again. Huh, this looks weird. But let me give you a nice tip. If you really want to reinforce a particular aspect of your prompt, you can control and use your up arrow to increase the weight of those keywords. Let's see if it gives us some sunlight right now. All right, there you go. There is definitely some rays. It has some uh, weird lines on the window, but keep in mind that Stable Diffusion will give you a lot of bad results. You really need to cherry pick the ones that you like, you know? This is a process of trial and error. Absolutely. Let's make another one. Mhm. Let's say that we want to see a forest. Showing a forest outside. Mhm. Nice. So as you see, we have a new set of windows in the ceiling. Uh, this wasn't on my base render, right? But we are here just generating new ideas, finding things that we didn't think before. And if I wanted to go with this look, I will go back to Cinema 4D and will adjust my geometry to include these windows. But then again, you can go back to your Controlnet settings and adjust these values closer to 1 to be more accurate relating to your base image. So let's say that I want to go with this look and made some changes without completely change the overall image. So to do that, you can click on this button here, View History, and this is my last render. By the way, you have here the history of your prompts, previous prompts, and if I like one, like this one, I'm gonna go to the case sampler and I'm gonna freeze my seed. So I'm gonna set it to fixed. So if I Q prompt again, and nothing happens because I didn't change any settings and the seed remains the same, okay? So let's do some compositing on this image. But first, let's clean up the workflow a little bit. I'm gonna push my Controlnet groups up here, like so. I'm gonna create a new group for these nodes right here. I'm gonna call it first pass. And we are going to copy some of these nodes. So I'm gonna select the positive prompt, the Controlnet stack, case sampler, VA decode, and save image. I'm gonna press Control C, and now if I press Shift Control V, it will paste them and keep the connections, like so. Cool. Now we need to load our image mask. Let's search for load image mask, and we are going to load our matte path that has the floor. And since the floor is colored in blue, we are going to tell that the channel will be blue. So now we need a new node called set latent noise mask. Okay, and we are going to connect our mask into here. This one connects to the latent image, and the previous case sampler is going to connect into the samples. Cool. Okay, so the negative prompt remains the same, but now we need a new prompt. Let's say that we want a water puddle on an abandoned spaceship. And let's see what it gives us. As you can see, it's only changing the floor right now. And the image looks weird, and I know why. It's very, very sharp and with noise. That's because we are using the same seed as the previous key sampler. So to solve that, we are going to tell Stable Diffusion that we want a new seed, setting it to randomize. Let's try again. All right, nice. Another one. The cool thing is it is even trying to get the reflections from the ceiling, you see, from the windows. Of course, they are not physically correct, but congrats, Stable Diffusion, for at least trying. Okay, let's say that we want to change the landscape outside the spaceship room. We have a problem with that because we already have some reflections on the ground, and that wouldn't do. So I'm going to make a group out of this, and I'm going to duplicate all these nodes, paste it here, and I'm gonna bypass this group for now. Since I don't have a matte path for the windows, because this is new information that didn't come out from the 3D software, I went to Photoshop and I did a rough mask for it. This one right here. So we have red to mark the position and areas where the windows are. Let's set this for red. And let's say that we want a new landscape. I have a prompt for that here. Let me copy. And it's glass windows inside an abandoned spaceship showing the view outside, which is a desert landscape and a deep blue sky on a sunny day. The cool thing about SDXL is that you can write your prompts as you normally talk, you know? It's easier. So let's see what the result is going to be. Okay, nice. We have a desert. Cool. But here it's not working because we are using the Canny edges from the original image. So to fix that, we can do a little trick. We can copy the Canny nodes once again. Let's paste it right here. And let's load the new image into here and connect the Controlnet stack to the apply Controlnet stack. Okay. But this time we need to set our values to 1 because we don't want Stable Diffusion to deviate from the lines we set for this Canny. So let's see how it goes. Nice, now we have a desert and we have our sky. Let's say that we want to see a city landscape. Let's change the prompt. Is a city landscape with tall buildings. Let's go. All right, very cool. I love it. So let's say that we are happy with this result. Let's lock our seed. So we click on load, the last generation, okay, like this. Set this to fixed, and let's see how the floor will react to the new information. Let's set this group node to always. We already have our desired prompt, and let's qprompt. Oh, right, I forgot. We need now to set the latent. We need to connect the previous latent from the case sampler to the set latent noise mask. So let's do it. So connect here to this one. Cool. And let's try again. Okay. Very nice. Very cool. It's working. I know what you're thinking. This doesn't look like a spaceship anymore, does it? Well, I admit that I got a bit carried away, but I just wanted to show you the process and the capabilities of this amazing software. In a matter of minutes, you can generate 100 different ideas to show to your clients before you do the actual work on the 3D software, right? Let's try another one. I think I like this one better. So, assuming that I want to finish with this image, I'm going to click on load and set the seed to fixed. Nice. Now, as a final step, I want to do some image to image to try to soften some of the errors, like these details right here that don't make any sense, these lines that have chromatic aberration doesn't look good, same here. So to do that, I'm going up here and I'm going to copy some notes like the prompts. We don't need the Controlnet stack, but we need the case sampler, the VAD code, and the save image notes. Control C to copy. Let's go down here and paste it. Whoops, wrong. We want to do Shift Control V to keep the connections when we paste, like so. Perfect. Now, we need to connect the positive prompt to the case sampler and do the same for the negative prompt. As for the latent image, we need a new node called VAE encode. Let's connect it. And for the image, we need to go get our latest generation. So load image. And if you go to your output folder inside ComfyUI, you are going to have all of your images. Let's drag this and load it into here. Perfect. Now let's connect to the VAE encode. Now we need to connect the VAE to the checkpoint node that it's way up here. So if you click on the red circle, drag and release, we are going to have this option right here, reroute, and this is a very useful node for complex workflows. So let's bring it right here. And now we can connect to the VAE. Let me just organize this a little bit better. This is going to be another group, like so. Okay, yes. Always need to keep things a little bit organized. Nice. Okay, so I think the last thing that we need is to change our prompt. But before I do that, let me change this seed to randomize again. And I'm going to copy our first prompt, paste it here. I don't need the weight in the keyword sun rays coming in, so I'm gonna delete it. And I need to adjust this part because we don't have a forest anymore. We have a city landscape with tall buildings and a deep blue sky. And we also have a water puddle on the ground. Okay, let's see what the result will be. Let's qprompt. And as you can see, this doesn't make any sense. That's because I made a mistake. I failed to connect the positive prompt right here. Or instead, I put the negative prompt on the positive. Let's try again. Okay, the image is a little bit similar to what we had before, but still not the same. That's because the denoise value is set to 1. Values like 1 or close to 1 will generate a completely new image. So if you want to let Stable Diffusion add a little bit of information, but without changing too much the original, we have to reduce this value like 0.45. Okay, it's looking more similar to what we had before. And okay, let's compare it to the previous image. Okay, I see that these details right here have gotten better. I see that the shape, the chromatic aberration around here has disappeared. It's more clear now. The city has changed a little bit. I like the detail right here, like it's like dust or something. It's better than what we had before. And this image, this line of this window has also gotten better. So as a final word, I would just want to say that this is highly experimental. I'm still learning, and every day new tools are appearing that can greatly improve this workflow. And I'm committed to learn them as well. And I hope that you learned something from me. And I'm curious to see what you guys are going to do with this. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate and ask me. And good luck.